Gentlemen, we are in Shaar Bais, Perek Yud Bais, and I wanted to finish what we started talking about, which is it's a complicated topic because whenever we're talking about Shaar and Yisurim, it's a complicated topic, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, Chazal say, "Ein lanu mishalvas harashoyim v'miyisuri tzadikim." Nobody really understands why, somebody wrote a book, why do the righteous suffer, which was a Shtus book, and then somebody wrote a sequel saying, well, why do the wicked flourish, which was equal Shtus. like ein biyadenu lo mishalvas harashoyim yisuri tzadikim. So it's a difficult topic to talk about because we don't know. Chazal say we don't know. But that being said, there is something that we do have to learn about it. And if we just ignore the fact that we, tzaddikim here, have Yisurim, so then we kind of not just miss the boat, but we miss a whole opportunity just to say, ein biyadenu. I mean, that's also not an answer. So I'd just like to explain a little bit further, go a little bit deeper than what we spoke about last time. The first words of Perek Yud Beis is Amar Zal Bracha Samach Gimel Amud Aleph Kol HaMeshatev Shem Shomayim B'Tzaroi Koiflin Loi Parnasasai. This is the Gemara that we're trying to explain. Kol HaMeshatev Shem Shomayim B'Tzaroi. He makes a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his tzar. Partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his tzar. And he explains, it's easy enough to read the words. The words are that Imoy Anochi B'Tzara, every time we have tzar, Hashem has tzar. And if a person is b'tzar, and instead of davening that their tzar should go away, they realize that Hashem is b'tzar, and they daven that Hashem's tzar should go away, so you're better off that way. These are easy words to say, and I experimented with this in my own tefillah, and I find that I just can't find myself feeling sorry for God. I just doesn't work. Maybe I'm just not been madrega, but I'm b'tzar. If I have a headache, I'm b'spal. I speak that I'm b'spal that Hashem should take away my headache or my pain or my tzar is a big thing. I'll tell you something that made a roshim on me is that years ago. So. Rav Shmuel Birnbaum, Olav Shalom, was the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir in America. He was a Mir from Europe, and he was the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir on Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn. And his son was a chavrusa of mine, and a friend, close friend. Years ago, he was in Brisk, I was in Torah, or somehow we became friends. And I remember him telling me, or like Bachram talk about the future and what's going to be, and so he was saying like the one thing I don't have to worry about is the future, because his father, his uncles, everybody were the Rosh Yeshivas of Mir, and he's shoo-in to be the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir, and it's very clear like shidduch is not going to be an issue with him, and nothing's going to be an issue. Anyways, came Beit Hazmanim that year, and he infamously was traveling in Netanya, and he was shot dead. This was a shocking thing. It was not by a terrorist, but he was shot dead because he did what Bachram do, and he sort of camped out. They got to Tzadz or on the beach and around there at around 2 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't want to sleep on the beach, so they went into the garden of the Galei Tzad's hotel, and they set up camp. And the guard, who was half asleep, and woke up and saw people coming. He shot him, and he died. Tragic story. Probably just as tragic for the guard as it was the fellow like went totally crazy. But so much for his future. He was a good guy, but kacha the story. But I remember at the shloshim of that, so Rav Shmuel Birnbaum who's a big Rosh Hashiva, so he came to speak in Yerushalayim. He spoke actually in the Vei Simcha, the Beis Medrash of the Vei Simcha on Sorotzkin. And everybody went. It was the shloshim for his son, Gadol B'Torah, the shloshim of his son. And he spoke about Yisurim. That's what he spoke about. That was the subject of his talk, of his shiur, was Yisurim. And which I don't remember the shiur, unfortunately. I'm sure it's somewhere on tape. But what I do remember is the opening line. The opening line of his shiur was that he used to think that the most painful thing in the world was a really bad toothache, until his son got shot. And he realized the Yisurim go much deeper and much it could take over your whole life. And it's not something that can be isolated at all, and it's not something that any painkiller is going to work for. The pain was at a whole different level. So here you had, and it stuck with me for now 40-some years, that here we have tzaddik, b'yisurim, and the question is as alive now as it is then, like, Ein biyadeinu lo mishalvas harashoyim yisuria tzaddikim. Son was a tzaddik, he was a tzaddik, the father's a tzaddik, the mother's a tzaddik. So it doesn't make any sense, and I can't explain it. So that's my problem with Perek Yud Beis. That being said, Torah he the little boy not tzarech. So let's just try to understand something here. What does it mean to be mishatev shem shamayim b'tzaroi, koifel loy pardasasai? And I'd like to explain the following. I might have touched on this in the past. That when it comes to chet, a person does a chet, eats treif, kills somebody, talks lashon hara, choose your favorite chet. A person does a chet. The Rabbi Yoda in Shaar Tshuva, he explains that there's two things that went wrong here, not just one. There's two things that went wrong. Here Hashem creates the world. We're in the world. We're meant to do something, and we do a chet. So we're meant to accomplish something. We do a chet. So there's two things that happen. Number one is we did a chet. We pushed the wrong button. Imagine somebody pushes the wrong button and, God forbid, blows up a theater or friendly fire or not so friendly fire. You did a chet. You killed a guy. That's one part of the chet. It could be a chet ben elul u'makam. So if I did a chet ben elul u'makam, maybe something we don't understand. We could understand a little bit that I've done something which is created some kind of a chasard in the bria itself. Because Rabbi Yoda in Shaar Tshuva, there's another part to the chet, and that is that my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu has moved a step away. He says even b'shogeg, baby step. But it's easy enough for us to understand that if a child, let's say, it's not a complicated thing, if a child does something wrong and does damage, so one part of it is the damage. The second is, why don't you listen to me? Like, how could you do this to me? How could you move away from me this way? So there's two parts of it. So there's a stira. The Marsha asks a stira, a famous stira. Sanhedrin, maybe I inside. The Marsha says that you have two Gemaras. One Gemara says, Machshav hara lo yitztaref l'maisa. Person, Machshav hara means you plan on doing something bad. It doesn't mean that, just had a Machshav hara. You plan on doing something bad. But it didn't happen, it didn't work out for you. So, Machshav hara, says the Gemara, lo yitztaref l'maisa. Just al derech mashal, like in this country, they have a rule, that a law, that if a terrorist, Loyaleda, walks into a building, tries to blow up the whole thing and messes up, because or whatever, he was drunk. So we don't knock down his house. We don't, my guess here, I mean, he did the whole thing. Okay, so somehow we're from this, Machshav hara Loy B'tzaref L'maisa. It's a Gemara. Machshava Ra Loy B'tzaref L'maisa. You like it, you don't like it, makes sense, doesn't make sense. That's
Except by a goy.
As long as you don't do the math.
as long as you don't do a Maisa.
Except by a goy.
You pull the thing, nothing happens. Okay.
By
Except,
goy.
that's the kasha. That's not the answer. But at least for a Jew, Machshava Ra Loy B'tzaref L'maisa. Goy is Machlekes Haber. Good. Let's put it. Yeah. That's one Gemara. There's another Gemara which says, Hirhure Avera, Koshin Be Avera. Hirhure Avera, Koshin Be Avera. So what's Hirhure Avera mean? You're fantasizing about doing an Avera. You wake up in the morning, you think, I'm just going to kill this guy. And then you see that thought really makes you feel good. So you start, thinking about how you're going to do it. Everything. No, you're not going to kill the guy. That's not going to happen. But you just like thinking about it. It's Hirhure Avera. Or, you try to imagine what it would feel like to eat treif or do whatever Avera. Again, pick your Avera. I'd really like to hurt somebody. I'd really like to eat this, say that, whatever. So this thing Gemara says, astonishingly, really, Hirhure Avera. That's even worse than an Avera. Hirhure Avera, Kasher Avera. Frank de Barsha. How could it be if Machshava Ra, Loy B'tzaref L'maisa, what is that telling us? That Machshava is nothing. I mean, it doesn't count Machshava. And Mitzad Sheni, Hirhure Avera. It's interesting, like it doesn't say Machshavas Avera, but Hirhure Avera. Kosher Me Avera. So Marsha's Kasha is Gewalt. Like, how could it be? It's a stira, Vavish stira. And there's no machlekes about either one of them, by the way, by a Jew. But Mitzad Echad we say Machshava Ra Loy B'tzaref L'maisa. Mitzad Sheni Hirhure Avera Kosher Me Avera. So yeah.
Oh, and in the Beis Hamikdash, if he has a big thought only.
That's a Maisa. Over the Beis Hamikdash is a special din that a Machshavas Pigel is considered a Maisa. It's not, but that's not a Machshava. It's a very good question, but that goes out of this category. That's the exception.
Says you have to put a mic to say it. The dibur.
According to the Rambam. Yeah. Even that, but you're not. Even when you do the dibur, you're only chayav for the. So let me get the alamdan here. Two cases in the Gemara. Allah b'machshavtoi lechol basar chazir. Person decides I'm going to have some chazir today. V'hela b'yadoi basar tleh. And he ends up with something kosher. Right? So, I mean, it could be such a, like a person decides, it's like an interesting, scenario. Like a person decides, you know what, the heck with everything, I'm going to eat treif. I always wanted to eat treif, there's no reason why I shouldn't eat treif, I'm just going to eat treif. And he gets on the bus, and he's going to go out of the Jewish neighborhood, he's going to find a place that they sell treif, right? Goes to Abu Ghush or something, he finds a place where they're going to eat treif, and goes down and orders, what would you like to eat tonight, sir? Treif. I just as long as it's treif, I just want to eat treif. Like he's in a vice of mered, it doesn't make any difference if it doesn't make any difference. I just want to eat treif. I need to have a suda of treif. Okay, so the guy serves him and he eats and he rebelled and everything, and little does he know that Abu Ghush ran out of food and they bought all their food from Telstone that night. So this is the pshat, the case of the Gemara. Like things just don't go well for this guy. Here's the case of the Gemara that b'machshavtoi he wants to eat basar chazir. V'ala b'yadoi basar tleh. I thought I ate treif. I wanted to eat treif. I did everything to eat treif.
They start making chazir in the laboratory.
Oh, okay, more sophisticated. You could have the other case, the other scenario, which is unfortunately all too common, where a person goes to the best shchita in town, he goes to the most chashuv butcher in town, but he don't have a uvda, like you go to the most chashuv butcher in town, and everything is trustworthy and everything is good, and he's got 100 pictures of Gedolim on the wall and everything, and it comes out he's buying Purdue chickens, it comes out, that's right, Bais Hashaya. So here's a person who's making kiddush and brachas and maybe a Hasidic tish, and it's all treif. Everything is treif. Everybody's heard these nightmarish stories of eating treif. It was the case of the Gemara. What his machshava was to eat basar tleh, ba'ala b'yadai basar chazir. So you have two cases, and what you have, and if I could just paraphrase Rabbi Yoina, he brings these two cases. Rabbi Yoina is a Shaar Tshuva. Says Rabbi Yoina that what you really have here, the two cases, if you analyze it, the two cases are, in one case, case A, if you take every Avera and you say there's two parts to it. There's the relationship I have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then there's the Bais Avera. So in the case of I want to eat treif, he's definitely severing the relationship. That it didn't work out for you, so you didn't do the Bais Avera. But you did the Chelak Aleph of the Avera, which is severing the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Case B, I didn't sever the relationship, I want nothing more than to eat kosher. But Lamaisa, I did an Avera. I ate basar chazir. What would happen to us if we ate basar chazir ba'oilus? You make it soy, you make it tightness, you try to get it out of your system. Whatever you do, whatever your derech is, go ask your local Orthodox rabbi, what are you supposed to do if I accidentally eat treif? But one thing is for sure, like he's a tzaddik, he didn't mean to do anything wrong. Such a thing has happened to very, very chashuv people. It can happen. But so in case 2 says Rabbi Yoina, you have the Bais Avera, but you have the Bais Avera, but you didn't sever the relationship between yourself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's two parts to the Avera. So that's what Rabbi Yoina says. So asks Rabbi Yoina, and really this is the Marsha, saying pretty much the same thing. Which is the worst? Who's the worst guy? The guy who wanted to eat treif but ate kosher, or the guy who wanted to eat kosher but ate treif? Who's the guiltier party? And this says the Gemara, here hure avera kasher be'avera. It's the pshat in the Gemara. Here hure avera kasher be'avera. If you have to compare, if you have to make a choice, so to speak, or divide between the relationship aspect of an Avera and the actual pu'ula of doing the Avera, severing the relationship here, Huri Avera, is kashin, that's worse than the Avera itself. That's the pshat of the Gemara. There's a Marsha's pshat of the Gemara, says Rabbi Yoda, that's pshat of the other Gemara of Allah b'yadai basar tleh. They're both saying pshat in two different Gemaras, but they both say the same yisod.
Amen.
So, what's the pshat machshava ra loibet starif l'maisa? If this is true, how do we learn the machshava ra loibet starif l'maisa? So this Gemara l'anias daiti is a statement of fact. The fact of the matter is that you can think all you want, a maisa you didn't do. So could be a tirhur avera, which is kasher be'avera. But in terms of whether you need a maisa, in other words, there's machshava, there's dibur, there's maisa. If you need a chet, for instance, for Beis Din to give you an oynish, or even for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you an oynish, you need a chet. It has to druk s'chais in a maisa. It has to. We understand this, by the way. We understand this because machshava dibur maisa is 3 different olamos. After the world of Atzilus, there's Bria, there's Yitzira, there's Asiya. There's 4 olamos, 4. Oh, there may be millions of olamos, but the 4 that we've identified is Atzilus, Hashem's world, let's say, Eitzel Hashem. Bria is where the Bria begins. Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. Machshava, dibur, umaisa. Goes together, because they're parallels. Machshava, dibur, umaisa. In other words, in our old life, we have, would we have the first kernel of a thought, and then Yitzira, which is already a creative, right? A machshava yitzirati, like we're creative. And then you have Maisa. I actually did something about it.
Didn't we also discuss here there as well? There's like a fourth element?
It could be. We discussed back in Perek Aleph, but l'tzarchenu, a chet. There's such a thing as a chet b'machshava. This gets to your pigel question, really. There's such a thing as a chet b'machshava, because the Gemara says the exception to the rule of machshava ra lo b'starif l'maisa is avodah zarah. So avodah zarah, like the whole thing is machshava. Whole thing is machshava. What does it mean according to what we're learning? The whole thing is ki kel kanohu. It's not that I said salami bologna and I bow down to an avodah zarah. The issue is, how could you slap Hashem in the face that way? By worshiping an avodah zarah. It's meaning, we're not talking about stupid people. We're talking about people that said, but I can get something out of worshiping this avodah zarah. I can get some kind of a skula from it. I can get something, like in Yeshayahu it says that avodah zarah helped their farming, log. What about it? Is that a? So there's a lot of Gemaras that call like Sina could be like avodah zarah. Kol hakoyes kilu oived avodah zarah. There's a lot of Rishonim that learn that avodah zarah is just like an avmalach. There's a lot of toldus that go under it, but but if it doesn't come l'maisa, so you can question. But you see, one thing's for sure, you see that Bais Risha was nechra because of avodah zarah, gilui arayis shvichas noamim, and the Bais Sheni was sina, which is a davar shebelev, and you see that it was worse. So you see that clearly, but yeah.
Also, there's another differentiation. There are certain thoughts which, in and of themselves, are
Sina.
In and of itself, the thought process is a chet.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think everybody in the world has had a situation where he's confronted with an opportunity to steal, to commit other types of averot. And the thought crosses his mind, but then he wipes it out. He doesn't do it. We don't get punished for thinking evil.
I'm not sure if that's true, but I'm not sure if that's what Chazal are saying. I'll tell you why. Because machshava ra loy mitztaref l'maisa means that you actually planned. That's how. In other words, what it means is you actually planned on doing it, but you missed the guy.
That's not the example I'm giving.
I know, but that's the example of the Gemara. Yeah, the machshava ra is not either. Doesn't. It's a very interesting language, by the way. Loy mitztaref l'maisa. Who was doing tzirufim here? What is loy mitztaref?
So he did attempt, but it didn't pan out.
L'chayra. Reb Tzadok explains that if I had a machshava ra and I never actually did the avera, at a different time I did the avera b'shoigeg. So the question is this machshava ra mitztaref to the shoigeg? And then he goes transgenerational. What if my great-grandfather had a machshava ra and I actually did the avera? He says, oh, that's it. You just connected the two things. Okay, but it says loy mitztaref l'mais. It's not a, but it's, Reb Tzadok has a lot of this, by the way. He says, like, you take it to the positive side. Let's say I daven without kavanah. So I have no machshava, like I daven without kavanah. So he says the tefillos, are not worthless. They stay in a holding pattern. And then if you daven once but kavanah, boom, like everything takes off. Yeah, mitztaref. Shabbatova, mitztaref l'maisa.
It's interesting because we're talking about connecting to Hashem, and Hashem connecting to us. So here you have a case in the Gemara where someone who wants to be kosher and does everything, and we know nothing happens unless Hashem allows it to happen. So why would he allow someone who has the connection with Hashem?
That's why there's a carbon for a shogeg.
And the opposite is the case. Why would
that's why there's a carbon, but that's why there's a carbon chatos. You're right. There has to be something, but and that's why you do tshuva. this terrible thing happened in Monsey, and everybody, ate treif. I mean, they made in the Kehillah I was the rabbi of. Nobody bought from that butcher because he was too frum. So it was like, what's wrong? You just buy from like he was the real frummies bought. It cost more. So I didn't have those kind of balabatim. So everybody in the city had to make it same except for our shul. Goes to teach you something, no? I mean, I haven't yet figured out after 20 years what the lesson is here, but there's something about this that's interesting. Yeah. Between.
When you're thinking of, I want to eat treif because I'm just curious, or?
I mean, obviously, the whole Hilchos Mamrim, a mummer lahachas, mummer l'tayavin, a mummer l'davar echad, all the different mumrim are different. They all do the same ma'isa, but the difference is in the qualitative aspect of the ma'isa, which I'm saying. So let me say here for a minute. I'm saying, in any way you want to define it, we're talking about a different chelik of the avera, which is called hirhure avera, which is called v'yala b'yadai basar tlei, even if you didn't do an avera. But the hirhure avera, kashem avera, in the sense that I violated the machshava part of the avera, albeit that I didn't violate the asiya, the maisa part of the avera. In other words, my avera was in the oilam of bria, maybe even in the oilam of yitzira, but I never executed the crime. So therefore, I'm not chayiv in the world of asiya, but I am chayiv in the world of machshava. The only difference is, by the way, it seems to me, is not talking about your case where I had a thought, wow, I could really make a couple $1 million. I think on the contrary, there you get schar for not doing it because you had a yetzer to do it, you didn't do it. But I'm talking about actually a failed plan to do it. Based in can't be b'chayiv, the Sanhedrin can't kill you, but in Shamayim, I think it's pashut that you're a bad person. You have to do tshuva for it because you're a bad person. V'harai and Yom Kippur, read all the chets that have to do with my machshava, not only with my ma'isa. There's tons of them. It's the majority, maybe. I don't know. It didn't count, but I say that part fast. It makes me depressed. Okay, so let's, yeah.
What if you never pulled the trigger? Like, let's say you
Okay, the shiloh is if that's a ma'isa, but that's a ma'isa. I'm saying there's different levels of ma'isa. Putting the gun in your pocket, loading the gun. These are all ma'isa.
on the way, you got into a car accident.
What's the difference where you're? So Hashem saved you from doing this avera. So clearly, b'dinei adam. That's what I'm saying. We don't tear down your house. It's like clearly b'dinei adam. You're pater. The question of Shamayim has all to do with the relationship that I've breached between me and Hashem by doing this whole thing. I've taken my whole day planning out a murder. That's a total breach of relationship. And I even tried, and it didn't work. Hard to call the guy a tzaddik. So
to break the two, because the Rav said the thing about fantasizing with a hero, and I'm wondering maybe the hero is that part of it where I'm fantasizing, like the virtual reality thing. So I almost feel like I'm doing the thing, whereas the mashal was just a practical part of.
Yeah, there's apps that
right.
apps here, Hurry Avera apps. Good apps.
Is that the thing though? Is like the hero is something that changed?
But don't confuse this. That there are certain things, as was mentioned, that the machshava itself is avera. Probably according to most shitas of the Gemara, Gilui Arayis is one of them. I think that's a machlekes. How do you learn the Gemara? The Rad learns it one way, the Rif learns it a different way. But let's just say, to make this is not that kind of a share because I'm not capable of that right now. But that's a sugya. But there are certain averas, like arayas. So a person is maharher ba'arayas and never actually goes out and rapes somebody. So that to itself is and you see somebody you see so many halachas like this. Afilu daberi b'mei acharei ageder. You know, there's so many halachas of gilui arayos, avak gilui arayos, which are these are chatoyim. Like we have to make a distinction. I said avodah zarah because that's the clear one, and most not nogea to us. But what I am saying, there's certain averos which are b'machshava and certain averos which are b'maisa. But eating treif, let's just make it easier here. Eating treif is l'maisa. But it's still, if I'm thinking that I'm eating treif and I did nothing wrong, l'maisa, I still have severed my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now, if we can take this back to the Nefesh Hachaim, if one does a chet, there's really two aspects to it, and if we think of if you define a chet, but more important, if you define a relationship requires two people or two entities. I guess you could have a relationship with a cup of coffee, but you could have a relationship with God. You could have a relationship with another person. But a one-way relationship I don't think is called a relationship. I don't mean in English, but I just don't think it's called a relationship. In fact, you could turn around one day and say, I thought we had a relationship. We don't have a relationship. So if you're talking about a relationship, so it means, and this brings it to down to earth for me. I hope I'm saying right shot the Nefesh Hachaim. We have a relationship and I do a chet. I have a relationship with Hashem and I do a chet. So what happened here is two things. Number one is I did a ma'aseh chet. If I did a ma'aseh chet, I have caused some kind of, I didn't do my tachlis in the world this day. You know, whatever it is that I was created for, everybody was something they were created for. So do it. I wasn't doing it, I was busy doing a chet. Okay, that's one problem. You didn't do your job. You're fired. You didn't do your job. But there's a deeper thing here, and that has to be, if I may speak in this kind of a language, that has to be bothersome to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because I created you for a purpose, and you're playing around. Like, what are you doing? You're not doing your machayvasay ba'olamai. Point A. Point B is, now that we've established, what about the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That also hurts Hashem because it takes two to have a relationship. So you've severed the relationship. So that's another Shaar for the Shekhinah. So there's two problems here when you think about it. There's two problems when a person does a chet. One is they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're doing something negative. They're like, we understand that, let's say, ecologically. Okay, it's one thing if you're out there supposed to be planting trees. It's another thing if you're destroying the earth. You know, don't destroy. Just go home. That's an avera. But then there's another thing is that, I trusted you. I created you. I trusted you. I gave you this tachlis. I gave you this job. I gave you such hashgacha pratis growing up until you got to the point where you could do this. Hashem is taking care of me all of my life. He has, by the way. For the a little child, you start thinking of the hashgacha pratis, how the miracle of growing up, however it is that we grow up, how many people did not have that miracle take place. I took care of you so much. How could you walk away from me like this? That's a different level of an avera and a higher level of an avera. So now a person has, here's the hard part. All this was easy. Here's the hard part. Yisurim. I have Yisurim. What does it mean? We don't know. But how does, mathematically, logically, how does Yisurim fit into this whole story over here? We have two things going on. One is my job. Let's face that downwards, the world of Maisa. And then there's the world of Machshava, my relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, there's two things going on here. And if I do an Aveira, so there is a possibility that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings Yisurim into the world. Now, and this is where it's difficult to understand the connection. So you could say the yeshivisha connection is that Yisurim somehow cleanse, memarek, the Aveira. Kapara. Who said that? Kapara. No, well said, actually. Kapara. But there's slicha, there's mechila, there's kapara. There's the dry zach, right? So there's slicha, mechila, and kapara. So the Torah Dvorah taught us that early in Parak Aleph of Torah Dvorah, you bump into somebody on the bus, slicha. Mechila means that I had more kavanah with it. So when we're asking Hashem slicha, slach lanu, we're saying it's like I didn't mean anything with it, but when we're talking about, so we're saying Hashem forgive us, I'm sorry, not forgive us, I'm sorry, slicha. When we're saying mechila, we're saying not just I'm sorry, but let's try to restore the relationship. Are you with me here? In other words, somebody cheats on their wife, so like slicha doesn't do the trick. Mechila, maybe, possible. A person could be truly anguished over what they did, and a person can be truly apologetic of what they did and really feel bad. I don't know where my head was. I was crazy over, I just fell into this thing. Okay, I'm moichel. A still does not trust B. There's still some problem here. It still can't say that the relationship is what it was, BA to AA. It's just not going to be. So there's the kaper lanu, where you say, we're asking here for complete cleansing. Complete cleansing means ki'ilu, the whole thing never happened. That's hard. It's an avodah. Because it borders on being stupid sometimes. But for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're asking kaper lanu. In other words, my tshuva is enough. The lashon kaper means to cleanse. That's what the words mean. So you can understand that it's not just slicha, mechila, kapar. What are the Yisurim doing? On the one hand, they're just somehow erasing the fact. Somehow, I don't know how, the kapara, they're cleaning. They're erasing the fact that a chet was ever done. Beseder. In that itself, there's two halakim here. Erasing the fact that it never done. Okay, let's go back in history. It was never done. But what does it do? Yisurim can do that. What does it do about the relationship? So I think that as long as there's Yisurim, that means there's a relationship, and it means ad boisai, ad yoy boisai techakeloi. As long as there's Yisurim, if somebody is so bad, you throw them away. You're not punishing them. You're not anything. Just get out of my life. But the fact that what? I can't hear you. Chorus. Get out of my face. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Right? Lo biduf sheikh, lo biyuksech. I don't want anything from you. As long as there's Yisurim, what that means is HaKadosh Baruch Hu tickling the person, so to speak, to get back with the program.
Cares about it. Cares about it.
There is a care. This is not an easy thing for like an 11-year-old to chop, and the truth of the matter is, I think our whole generation is a bunch of snowflakes, and it's very difficult for anybody to chop. That the Yisurim is a form of connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the truth of the matter is, Shalvas Rishayim, take your pleasure, to have it in Olam Haza, and go to hell. That's basically what we're saying. Literally. Whereas this guy trying to, on Yoy Ba'isai, Techakeloi, there's a way to get, and the fact of the matter is, sensitive people, look at Eov. Look at Menashe HaRasha. Menashe HaMelech, it was the biggest Rasha, it was a Ritzayach. It was like the most horrible people in history. A Jewish anti-Semite. And Basov, he had Yisurim, but he did Tshuva. So it says in Tanakh, yeah. Mefurish. What does that mean, by the way? Ef koid aleichem is kol aved l'seichem. What does it mean? You're quoting it. Like Hashem Pokad Asora Kasher Amar. The relationship, the Yisurim, first of all, mean that there is a relationship, but Yisurim, for the mature, sensitive person, can bring back the relationship. That's all I'm saying. It's hard to know. It's like the Netziv said it. We said it over on the Netziv and Shir Hashirim. Cholos Ava Ali, that Shlomo HaMelech said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is not very effective. Like Yisurim is not being effective. Maybe Ava is a better way. Or as I said, how many people did tshuva because of the Holocaust? How many people did tshuva because of the Six-Day War? Probably the Six-Day War wins in terms of creating a Baal Tshuva movement. But that being said, the fact of the matter is the Yisurim is simply a way to get people to restore the relationship with it, whether we want them. The Gemara says, "Lo heid v'lo schar." To British Ketuvos, let me try to do it myself. But the fact is, Yisurim sensitize us. Look, I just say a reality. The reality is that when somebody, God forbid, Lo Yaleinu, has Yisurim, the davening is better. They're closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is that a fact? Usually it's a fact. Davening, you daven better. I turn around, I see people daven with a lot of kavanah. I say, oh, boy, I must have some kind of a tzara. I better minister to that guy. I think it's a fact. When you're davening, just davening, like blah, 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 so obviously everything is good. So there is something to be said for. I shouldn't say something we said, I don't want Yisurim, but the Yisurim fit into this cycle, a cycle of Ahava. And when we talk about, let's get the words clearly before we end, Kol HaMashatev Shem Shamayim B'Tzarai, Koiflin Loi Parnasasai. If there's two, and we find this, by the way, all over the place, by Tisha B'Av, Laka B'Kiflayim, there's always two parts. Always two parts. Reb Tzadok says that this is the pshat in kefil even. Kefil, you steal something, you pay back twice. One's to you and one is between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I did two things. I did two averas here. One is I stole your sheep, and the other thing is what kind of person am I that could steal a sheep? Like, what's that? I severed my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then he goes on to say that Arba v'chamisha is all the violations you did to yourself, which is very, very deep. Like, I think if you're alone in a place and nobody sees you to do it, like you feel so awful afterwards. Like what are my here? I thought for all my I'm living a lie. Arba v'chamisha, like gewalt. But by the way, the Rambam in the Reb Tzadok is in the Pirush of the Rambam, Baba Kaba, like there's a little. He said that's where he speaks about.
Why is it we can understand this so well and so clearly? Let's say within our own bodies. If I have a tingling in my pinky, that doesn't go away. So I go to investigate what's going on, and I might not be surprised to find out, there's a problem you have in your diet, and it's affecting your arteries, and you should be doing this. And I'll change my whole life around that, because it's very clear to me about this tingling in my pinky.
It was a chesed in a sense.
Yeah, but apparently Yisurim are essentially doing the same thing.
Okay.
It's a message.
I'm with you 100%, except I would be a liar if I would say that I don't mind tinkling in my pinkies. I don't like it. Yeah.
I want to see if I understand this correctly. Slicha is, excuse me. Kehillat is I forgive you, and kapara is I exonerate.
Right. But say it all in the same tense. Slicha, I excuse you.
Right. Oh, I excuse you. So what I believe I understood from what you were saying is that part of the process of exoneration is the price we pay for doing the chet. That's the Yisurim.
Yes. You're kind in saying it that way because you're actually saying it better than me. But yes, in other words, the Yisurim is part of the Mechila and possibly be part of the Kapara. I think those two, Slicha, Mechila, Kapara. Excuse me, excuse you, accidents happen. Mechila takes already Avodas Halev. That's one thing Yisurim. does. And kapara is to actually make it as if the thing never happened. That's a deeper level. So again, pay a price for that. So that so this is all I want to say today was this: that there's a kefil. There's a kefil, and there's the tsar hashchina on two levels: the tsar hashchina of the relationship, and the tsar hashchina for the chet. Two levels of tsar hashchina, and if a person does tshuva, kol amashatev shem shemayim mitzar koiflin loy parnasasei. If you've mended both, not only have done tshuva for the chet. So you see how's it possible for a person to do tshuva on a chet, and it turns into schuyos, right? Doinos nasa k'schuyos. Like, what kind of miracle is that? But the pshat is that, I mean, we've seen this that a person that a chet sometimes brings people together in a way they've never been together before. Somehow or another, like a breach in a relationship can be a breach of a relationship and create a world war, or a breach in a relationship can bring something to the attention to center stage, and there's a lot of cheshbon on nefesh. I don't know if you see it, I see it all the time. It brings it back, it brings it to center stage. There's a lot of cheshbon on nefesh, and the kapara ends up being even a stronger thing than it was before. And I do trust you, because I know we went through this process. It's anybody who's familiar with the 12-step program. I never went through a 12-step program, but I was at an advisory rabbi to a 12-step program. You have to marvel at the madrega that people are getting to, because it's way beyond any type of rehabilitation of just not doing a chet anymore, not doing whatever it is that they don't want to do, whether it's drugs, alcohol, talking too much, eating too much, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. That really doesn't make any difference. I think that's what was discovered. But because what happens is that there's a restoration of growth. Ad kedei kach, that the people that complete successfully a 12-step program are considered arrogant. Like they actually sometimes look down on people that never were an alcoholic. I've said everything, but it's I'm not saying everybody, but it's because this feeling of sort of I've got a Rabbi Twersky, Dr. Twersky once told me years and years ago. Now he should have a refuah shalema. But at one time he told me that he doesn't go for Shabbos anywhere except for to 12-step program meetings. Shabbos is Shabbos, Habashaber Shabbos, like you invited him for a Shabbaton or something like that, he would never come. He'd speak here or there, but he would never go away for Shabbos, except so I said, why 12-step program? He says, because that's for my chizuk. That I'm going for my chizuk, I'm not going to give them chizuk. So that's what Shabbos is for. But it's an interesting thing. But okay, so tachlis, we got to have it clear. What we're talking about is kol habashatim shiv shavai betzaroi koiflin loy parnasasai, that you get the kefil back because there's two parts to the chet. B'meila, there's two parts to the reconciliation. And b'meila, the bracha that comes out is k'schuyos, and ends up being off in a better place than you were. And this is called b'shatev shev shamayim betzaroi. I'm bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into this picture.